right, everybody. Once again, in progress is our weekly opportunity to share with each other and with all of you all of the things that are sticking in our collective craw here at Progress, Texas. I'm podcasting director Chris Mosier. We are joined by digital director Sam Gonzalez. We are joined by executive director Kathleen Thompson.
Hey, everybody. Sam waved for those of you listening.
I forgot this was an audio podcast. I forgot.
This is an audio medium, Sam.
I did Al Borland salute for those who need the alliterative nature of it.
It was nicely done. And something a little bit unusual, not technically part of the staff, but a member of one of our two boards at Progress, Texas, is Jason Smith, who is who's with us. And, you know, they tell you to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, and you will do well in life. And I consider Jason to be one of those people in my circle of smart people that when I'm stuck on something, which is frequent, I'll call Jason and he will frequently unstick me. And so I appreciate that very, very much. And the primary reason, outside of the fact that we like him so much, that Jason is here for In Progress this week, is that there are big doings in Tarrant County in Fort Worth.
Right.
You've probably heard a little bit about this. If you're a rather wonky Texan, you probably know something about what's going on. But if not, you may not have heard of this because it is a local story up in Tarrant County. Kathleen, why don't you give us the quick TLDR version of what's happened to the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court?
Okay. In Tarrant County is a 50-50 partisan makeup district. So you'd expect your county commissioner's court to be a 50-50 court, 50% Republican, 50% Democratic. And we're not right after a census, which you could expect redistricting after a normal census year. But this is just a power grab that's happening in Tarrant County by the Republicans on the commissioner's court. They know that they can't win elections with the maps that they have. They'd like to add another Republican to the court, not because that's the will of the voters who are going to vote in that person, but they have decided we want a 75-25 court that just doesn't make sense when it comes to the numbers. So they are redrawing the maps outside of a census that could make sense. And it's a blatantly racist and partisan power grab. And I'm so glad that Jason is on with us today. Long-timers like Jason and myself remember previous fights about redistricting in Texas that have gone all the way up to the Supreme Court. And Jason and I were actually texting about this with you, Chris, earlier in the week, saying that, you know, same game, you know, same old playbook, but how will it turn out this time? So, Jason, we're so glad that you're here. That's the long and short of it, friends.
Jason, give us your view. You've been in kind of an advisory role with some of the parties involved here. Without going too legalese necessarily, give us your 1,000-foot view of what's going on.
So, Tim O'Hare wants to be the biggest and baddest MAGA guy in Texas, if not in the nation. And he has just set on ignoring the rule book. When he ran for county judge, Tim O'Hare actually said, the reality is if you are a Republican office holder and you haven't been called a racist, you probably haven't done a thing. Now, when I heard that, I couldn't believe it. He said it on a podcast when he was running. And what's that? The lady writer, it says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Maya Angelou, right?
Right.
Yeah. And he just stuck his chin out there and said, yeah, call me a racist, and grinned. And that's how that whole crowd is. And one of MAGA's big approaches, and it's something that we haven't figured out how to deal with as Democrats who respect values and principles, but MAGA's approach is the rule book doesn't apply to us.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The norms don't apply to us. We're going to take power and expand power, and that's what they're doing. And so they announced a couple months ago that they're doing this redistricting. They have some meetings that they hire this right-wing law firm to do the redistricting. The right-wing law firm doesn't even show up to all the hearings. At the vote, the two Democratic commissioners on the commission. It's 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats right now. And the Democratic commissioners said, hey, can we talk to this lawyer we're paying for with taxpayers' dollars? And they were told, oh, that person's no longer in the building. They're not available for questions. It is clear that this was a setup deal, and they were just going to shove it through. They've carved up 3 of the precincts to be Republican, and they've stuck most of the minorities in Tarrant County in Precinct 1. And so it'll be a 4-1 majority, supposedly. But there are elections.
Of course they don't play by the rule book. They're not going to win if they do. They're the kid that takes their ball when they start losing, or they say, no, I'm invincible when you're playing blasters or whatever with them, like when you're playing in the schoolyard. It goes from the words they say to the actions they take, except the actions they take hurt people so badly and only stand to enrich themselves and to make themselves more powerful, and powerful in heavy quotations, because if you have to cheat, you don't got real power. If you have to lie and deceit, it's all built on lies. And the people of Tarrant County know that. They know that it's garbage. They know that it's bullshit, that they're cutting people out in a way. People look at gerrymandered maps all the time of Texas and they go, what the hell is that? And this is another one of those instances where, KT, you gave me an assignment to make a graphic, and they gave us the 5 options, and all of them looked insane. Yeah, all of them look like a Medusa's head of borders and boundaries. And so, if you're telling me that's how Texas conducts things, then what is it? Then what are we doing here? You know, what are they doing?
We have a blog up right now called Racist Republicans Can't Win Without Changing the Rules. And I would love for you to read it and share it with your friends. We talk about, like Jason said, you know, what has happened, what's happening next, and who they plan to fill the seat with when they take Jason's saying, of course, elections are coming, so we'll see if they win. But the plan is that Tony Tinderholt, state rep with a terrible record, has come back to Tarrant County, you know, air quotes, spend more time with your family.
Right.
He's the guy that they want to add on to a far right extremist addition to the commissioner's court. And that just, friends, does not look like Tarrant County at all.
I was going to say, Fort Worth, to folks who have not spent a whole lot of time in Fort Worth, you think of Cowtown, you think of the stockyards, you think of kind of cowboy culture. I really enjoy, you know, I'm not the most cowboy dude in the world, but I love Fort Worth's cowboy culture because it's very authentic. And it's to me, it's a really, really fun place to be, and a very down to earth and you know, and again, legit sort of place to hang out. It's also a much more diverse place than you might think from a cowboy town. When you spend time in Fort Worth, any amount of time, you see every different culture. It's similar to other places in DFW. It's a very, very diverse place.
And Fort Worth is the Democratic part of the county.
Sure.
It is really the outlying parts of the county that are more Republican. Although, and I think one of the things that led to the redistricting is the rest of Tarrant County is becoming diverse as well. You go to Mansfield and you got folks from South Asia, you got Muslims, you got African Americans. It's really becoming diverse, especially along I-20. And that's why they took this action. They see what's coming.
Right. I say the same in HEB, where Jason and I grew up. I mean, State Rep Salman Bojani, who's now serving the residents in House District 92, was the first non-white member of the Euless City Council, and the local club Mid-Cities Democrats helped get him elected with some really nasty racist opposition of the type of Jonathan Stickland for long-timers listeners. And that's the part of the Republican Party that has taken over at the Commissioner's Court, and is just so totally not reflective of Tarrant County, whether it's the Fort Worth, but also the suburbs. Jason, would you speak a little bit about the lawsuit that was filed when the blog was being written? We got the announcement of the first lawsuit that was filed. Could you talk a little bit about how that's going to go, and if you expect other lawsuits? This is going to be one of many. What do you see there?
Sure. So the next day after the MAGA Republicans voted to change the lines. First, you had Tony Tinderholt, who had just announced he was retiring from the legislature, like out of a script, announced that he was going to run for the county commission.
Because it was scripted.
Right.
And then you had a lawsuit filed in federal court by folks in the different communities who were impacted by this, challenging the redistricting, alleging that it was intentional race discrimination and violated the Voting Rights Act. And that has ended up in Judge Reed O'Connor's court. Judge O'Connor is the judge who twice ruled that Obamacare was unconstitutional. He's declared a lot of good things that President Obama and President Biden tried to do unconstitutional. And he's one of the reasons that Elon Musk put in all his contracts that any dispute had to be resolved in Fort Worth federal court. So I will say, having appeared before Judge O'Connor, he's respectful of all sides. I think he thinks he is making fair decisions based on his perspective, but he's not a Biden or Obama appointee. I'll put it that way.
Governor Abbott at one point talked about kind of the distinction between racial gerrymandering and political gerrymandering in such a way, and I'm paraphrasing here. I was looking for the quote and I can't seem to find it here, but he basically alluded to the idea that, hey, it's not our problem that non-white people don't tend to vote Republican. And we've talked about the fact that today's courts are not the same as yesterday's courts, especially up at the Supreme Court level, where we have had courts side on the side of people who have complained that gerrymandering is in fact based on race as opposed to politics. Jason, do you see different outcomes in this situation for the lawsuits that are coming up against this Tarrant County situation, or what do you think there?
Well, I think Greg Abbott is a lot better lawyer and a lot better politician than Tim O'Hare. And he can avoid saying the obvious things. And the Supreme Court has said, if you're gerrymandering based on politics, that's not illegal. But when someone says, if you're a Republican officeholder and you haven't been called a racist, you probably haven't done a thing, like O'Hare said, those kind of comments can show that the real reason wasn't politics, it was race. And there's a discovery process, and there are depositions taken. And Judge O'Connor believes that parties should get discovery. And that one of the ways is taking Tim O'Hare's deposition. And that process, just stay tuned. It may reveal some things that haven't been disclosed yet or been made public knowledge, but stay tuned and see what Tim O'Hare is confronted with. The word around the campfire at the legislature in the last month was that Donald Trump has asked Greg Abbott to call a special session to redistrict the congressional lines in Texas with the hopes of picking up 3 Republican seats. They're desperate. They realize that their big ugly bill is cutting 13 million people off Medicaid, who are even people who voted for Trump are on Medicaid, and they realize they're going to pay a political price for it, and they're looking for seats anywhere, anyhow. But I think that also shows that this isn't a Tarrant County phenomenon. This is a playbook that is being played nationwide at all levels. And Democrats, we need to be principled, but we also don't need to be stuck with the old rule books. We have to fight back. And fighting back is court's one place to fight, but also getting people out to vote is the best way we can change things. And they're giving us lots of ammo, but watch out, because Tarrant County is not the last place they're going to try to redistrict.
It's important for all of us to really understand, or as close as we can understand, what's happening in Tarrant County in order to understand that broader plan that they have, for sure, Jason.
DFW and North Texas friends, Progress Texas is excited to invite you to join us to celebrate our 15th anniversary in Dallas. Come meet and mingle with political movers and shakers, lawmakers, advocates and activists, and just plain cool Texans who, just like you, are digging in for progress in the Lone Star State and loving every minute of it. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now at progresstexas.org. Thanks to generous folks like Howard Cleon, Charles Zeller, Pamela Pearson, Chuck Cruz, Amy Forehand, John Mazzaro, and many others for their kind support. Join them and us to celebrate 15 years of progress on Monday, June 9th in Dallas. Details and tickets now at progresstexas.org.
Let's talk about elections in Texas and elections in Tarrant County. The Tarrant County Democratic Party chair has announced her resignation. And so there's going to be a new election in July next month for a new chair, and that will be the person who, just like at the state party, a new chair, a new opportunity, a clean slate to win elections in a different way for 2026. We've talked about a new era at the Texas Democratic Party and plans that Kendall Scudder says will hopefully lead Democrats out of the wilderness. We've talked about specific races like Vicki Goodwin, who announced her bid with us, and go read that blog and listen to that podcast. But also there are announcements that are coming, stay tuned, like Jason is saying. Jason, you're from Tarrant County. I'm from Tarrant County. We've seen chairs and different efforts. We've seen wins in Tarrant County, but what does it mean to have a new chair ahead of the all-important primaries in 2026 general?
Well, Tarrant County is a purple county. 3 out of the last 4 elections, the Democrat at the top of the ticket, Beto O'Rourke, Joe Biden, Colin Allred, won Tarrant County. Mm-hmm. That shows where the voters are going. And we've had new chairs really for the last 3 cycles, are going to be this 3rd cycle. I think that job, the chair job, there's the eating vegetables part of the job, which is running elections,
yes,
getting people out to vote and calling people and having them tell you, no, I can't give you any money, and then calling the next person after they tell you that. And
tell me about it.
It takes a lot of work. It's an eating vegetables job. And I know Allison Campolo is running. She was the chair for 1 cycle. I thought she did a great job. She has a grassroots perspective. She has a PhD too. She's super smart. There may be other folks who get in the race. I don't know that necessarily that we need someone who doesn't have any experience, but we certainly need someone who brings that fresh perspective. I think Allison Campolo still has that fresh perspective, but we should be embracing debate about our future. So yeah. I hope someone runs against Allison so we can have a conversation and a dialogue, and people can understand what our choices are and then what it really takes. It's easy to gripe about the county chair because it is a thankless job, and the results of that position are based on so many things beyond the county chair's control, like what's going on at a national level. But we do need someone who has energy and has optimism, and I think we're going to get that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, Colleyville is my hometown. It's horrifying what has happened to the city government there. I posted online a little while ago that somebody asked me if I missed, where I used to live. And it was right after the mayor of my hometown said we should be sending nuclear bombs into hurricanes. And it's hurricane season now. We should not be sending nuclear bombs into hurricanes. That doesn't make them turn around and go the other way, no matter how President Trump uses a Sharpie to change our path. That's not how it works. And if you had a solid public education, you would know that. So it's unfortunate that good people stay home. But I'm excited about local wins that we are still celebrating across Texas, getting rid of book banners and far right extremists at the school board level, at the city council level. And we have a runoff weekend coming up here on Saturday.
In the immortal words of Kobe Bryant, what's there to be happy about? Job finished, job's not done. You still got voting to do. So, I mean, every win that we've gotten so far, cool. Job's not done. So you got to go out and vote again, and then again, and then again. Mm-hmm. And I got a vote update, go vote Texas again, and again, and again in 5 different languages. Because Texas makes you go vote so many times instead of consolidating it, because they don't want you to vote. I said it. I mean, I've said it before, but I said it again. Republicans don't want you to vote. They don't want you to participate because they know that what we explained earlier, communities of color are existing and in new places and in different ways. And so they think, oh, it's a migrant invasion. It's like, no, these are just American citizens. No, This is just what community looks like now.
That's right.
And they want to go back. They're conservative. That in the definition of their name, conservative, they want things to be the same or go back to what they were, even more so. And there's no going back. That's not the world that exists. It's not the world that we live in.
MAGA doesn't follow any rules. And then they gripe about us when we don't follow the rules.
Right.
I think what we need to realize is the old rule book doesn't necessarily apply, but we can still be principled.
Right.
And we can still focus on things that matter to people. That's why I became a Democrat. And maybe we've gotten a little bit away from that because we've talked about so much. This is our opportunity to focus on, they're cutting 13 million people off of Medicaid.
Yes.
Right.
People are going to not live as long as they would otherwise because they're not going to have health care.
But Jason, we're all going to die anyway, man.
That's what Republican Senator Joni Ernst tells us.
I mean, who cares? We're all going to die anyway. I've been loving the leadership coming from Kendall Scudder. Speaking of new leadership at different layers of the political apparatus on the progressive side. He has terrific energy, terrific drive forward. Seems to have his eyes on the surroundings, which to me, the surroundings at this point show that we have an opportunity here. Trump's deep unpopularity, the overreach of MAGA at every level we can talk about, including this thing in Tarrant County that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. There is plenty out there to easily persuade people who have been on the sidelines up to this point to get in the game, at least to the degree of making sure that they understand what's happening and go and vote accordingly. And we've also found, I feel like over the last, 10, 15 years, what we've discovered is that a healthy democracy is not something that you can just set in place and then walk away from. It's something that requires constant maintenance and constant care and constant updating and constant staying with the times. Our side, quite frankly, has dropped the ball on that, while the other side has embraced technology and has really, really made a fine art out of the disinformation that they crank out, which of course is the whole point of Progress Texas, to provide a factual and principled counter to that narrative. And so, we're at a moment of great opportunity. People who end up in leadership positions like Kendall has, people who end up in leadership positions like whoever the next head of the Tarrant County Democratic Party is, Jason's right. It's a thankless job. It has a limited amount of control and a lot of accountability that may or may not be due. But those positions provide terrific opportunity right now for the right people who are ready to marshal these, advantageous circumstances we find ourselves in and move this shit forward. I think it's a possibility. And I think it's with the right person and the right attitude and the right amount of energy, the time is now to get that done.
I do want to make a shout out to a new player on the stage in Tarrant County who spoke out against redistricting, and that is Arlington Mayor Jim Ross, who has not been overly partisan, but really came out and very strongly had Arlington hire its own lawyers to evaluate the redistricting plan, and those lawyers found that it had serious legal problems. And he came out and spoke at the commissioners meeting.
Right.
So he's someone that a lot of people are talking about would make a great candidate for county judge. there's also people talking about Commissioner Simmons, who has been at the tip of the spear with County Judge O'Hare. So let's embrace new folks on the scene.
To let the listeners who maybe are not super clued in on this, Elisa Simmons is the only black woman on the current Tarrant County Commissioner's Court. She's also the one that they're basically trying to draw out of the picture. Isn't that right, Jason? Her
yeah, they've drawn her out of the picture.
Yeah, so that's this is a key person who's done a great job of where she is, and in fact, she's done a good enough job where they want to get rid of her.
Right. Just like when Republicans tried to draw Wendy Davis out of Senate District 10, right, Jason? I mean, it's the same thing over again.
Yep. And it's sad that their whole political plan is based on changing the maps because they see what's coming. They see what's coming in Tarrant County, that there are more and more people who are more and more open to the Democratic message.
Part of what we're doing in progress is complaining a little bit. So if I could have my complaint be a little bit of an ask. I went to an event last night, and a woman said, I start my day on the radio. She called it the radio. I start my day every day with Progress Texas on the radio. and I said, I love that you're listening. I hope you're sharing it with a friend. So listeners, we're about to celebrate our 15th anniversary with a big party in Dallas next week. And if you haven't donated, please go to progresstexas.org and you'll find all the information there, whether you can make it in person or not. We can only do our work because of great Texans like you. But my ask would be for you to share this redistricting blog that we're talking about, because it doesn't just happen in Tarrant. This could happen for Texas, and it happens in other parts of the state as well. But also share these podcasts. I'm constantly sending our good work to my Republican family members who are starting conversations back with me, especially about Senate Bill 3, the THC ban, and other things where they're getting it. We need these people in 2026. So leave the scolding at the door, leave the fuck around, find out, and bleep me if you need to at the door, and say, you're right, it sucks. Next time, let's vote Democratic. Let me share this content with you. Let me share this pod with you. Let me share this TikTok with you, and get people over to our side, because we need everybody. We need a huge coalition in 2026 to turn this thing around.
I found out. I don't want to know anymore.
Right.
I already know. I know too much. I found out. And be sure to share all of our moving pictures that we share on TikTok and YouTube. They're in Technicolor. And they are talkies, so you don't have to do much. Actually, they have reading as well. They're captions, so be sure to look at our films. Okay, the joke didn't go over as well as I hoped. But anyway, that's podcasting, baby. That's radio.
20th Century Fox, something like that.
Can I share my complaint?
Yeah,
yes,
share your complaint.
It's really my son's complaint. My 15-year-old son, Brennan, who ain't political and kind of rolls his eyes about politics. He's not any fan of Trump, but his complaint is that Democrats are just too serious, and they take everything too seriously. And after I frowned, I kind of smiled and said, well, you got something there. And we certainly are dealing with serious issues, but we also need to be happy warriors and act like we care about the people and show that we care about the people that we think government should be on the side of. And sometimes in the last few years, maybe we didn't come off like that. So shout out to Brennan Smith, words of wisdom, Pascal High School sophomore to be.
Hey,
Brennan,
Pascal.
I hope that you listen to this, and you're right. There's the word party in Democratic Party.
That's right.
I hear you, Brennan.
Let me throw in here that my father-in-law, who's recently passed, was Mr. Stardust at Pascal High School at some point in the back. And I married his daughter, who was Miss Pascal, I think in like 1986. So I when I'm in Fort Worth, I always tell people I married Miss Pascal. And this carries a lot of weight. It gets me into closed doors. So let's wrap up here. Once again, a great conversation. More power to all y'all up in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. We really, really appreciate it. Jason Smith, Thanks again very much to a whole bunch of our friends. I want to read off this list of folks who have pitched in huge for the 15th anniversary party, which is coming up on Monday. Howard Cleon and Charles Zeller and Pamela Pearson and Alex Andrade and Scott Elphinstone. The law offices of Domingo A. Garcia, PC. Domingo Garcia does something else I learned about today, Kathleen. What is that?
He's the LULAC president.
I did not realize that. So thank you, sir, for your help. Carol Taylor, Chuck Cruz, Amy Forehand, Eric Johnson, and Dr. Mark Parker, John Mazzaro, Seeker Strategies, the Honorable Gene Wu, who is almost like a cast member around here. He's on our pods all the time. Jason and Sarah have also given. We appreciate you guys. Are you guys coming to the party on Monday?
I think we have a babysitter. So
Excellent.
Sarah Peretta, wife extraordinaire, and I will be there.
Thanks, Jason.
Terrific. So Kathleen and Sam, thanks you guys for your time. Jason, for your time as well. Chris Mosier here signing off. That's in progress. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Bye.